Hi, day 30 in Pedrouzo, having walked from Arzu 20 kilometres. Just an uneventful walk in a way, from the point of view that there's no major historic points to look at, or it's really just through forest and farmland. But there's a real beauty to that. Indeed, at one point, there's a plantation of pine, very tall, all in just in lines that covered in fern and or ivy, I mean, and just something very mysterious about that. The walk was, I think, really being our second last day, a day of connection with pilgrims, just those with whom we have crisscrossed, but also a grief in our heart, because there's a sense that many with whom we've crisscrossed we're not going to see again. They are still behind us or have moved on ahead of us. So yeah, coming to the end of the walk, there is this sense of goodbyes. There's this sense of loss, as it were, which indeed, I guess tomorrow will be felt even more strongly. Today was, just opportunity to be connecting with people. At one point we were walking along and there was this huge tree that was uprooted, obviously by the wind recently, and so its root system formed an arch, kind of like a cave. And as we came around the corner, there was a pilgrim whom we hadn't met before, sitting under the arch, as it were, this cave made from the root system of this huge tree, and she was just reflecting. As we approached, I asked, could I take a photograph, because it seems somehow to symbolize the pilgrimage, the Camino, from the point of view that here there was a little niche where this pilgrim could pull off to the side and just contemplate. Isn't it important in life to find little niches where we can pull off to the side to contemplate, to review, to think back, to seek with the Lord's help to make sense of what has been happening? So we spoke with her, and at the end I said, God bless you, and her eyes just lit up, this big smile on her face, and she just repeated the blessing, and God bless you too. She'd taken 2 months to walk from St. John, whereas we'd taken a month basically for the same distance, maybe 80k short. And so she had just really been enjoying the slow experience. There are a few others whom we met. I think perhaps one of the touching stories, there were this couple, probably in their 70s, I don't know how old they were, but the lady had this big burden on her back. I think they'd only just recently started. I doubt even from Saria, I think possibly from Arzu. And we met the lady several times because of the fact we stopped and started. And she was just struggling with this huge backpack on her back, and she couldn't really make it up the hills. Again, just a thought, how often do we encumber ourselves with burdens that are too heavy for us to carry? Whether it's the burden of carrying somebody else and their need, or carrying regret or feelings of condemnation or whatever within us, all these unnecessary burdens. And it was too much for this lady. We continued, and I would say about 1 kilometre further on, we saw her husband who was walking on, and we said to him, your wife is way, way, way back. He would have no idea how far back she was, because we'd walked on and was looking for the husband. And he just looked at me and he said, I think we might need a taxi. And I said, yes, I think you need a taxi. That's a good idea. And he smiled as though, okay, I will go call a taxi. Yeah, just, I don't know, I think there was something special in that, giving him permission to say, well, you know what, this is too hard for us. We need to find a simpler way through. And that's also perhaps life as well, isn't it? Even in the hard times, to find the simpler way through. And the Lord is the one who said to me, come to me, you who are weary and heavily laden or heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Learn of me, for I am humble and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, to find the simpler way through life. So we continued on the 20 Ks and came finally to Pedrouzo, where we caught up with some more pilgrims, particularly Joshua and the captain and Antonio, with whom we had dinner in this wonderful cafe, restaurant, where we'd been last year, and sizzling steak brought out sizzling on the hot plate. Beautiful. So it was just great to share that. So yeah, that was the day's journey. And I might add, the captain just enjoyed the offcuts, the fat and so forth from the steak that we just fed him. Okay, so our Ignatian exercise for the day was, yes, rule number 12, I think we're up to, and it was to ensure that as you do life, you have a person who has got some spiritual wisdom or maturity to, yeah, just with whom you can talk about the temptations, the conundrums, the challenges that you have in life, that you don't have to deal with it by yourself, to ensure that there is someone in life, whether he be or she be a confessor, a counselor, a good and trusted friend, but not to be carrying the burdens again by ourselves. Jesus says, come to me, and so often coming to him is through the people that he would place in our path to help us to reflect, to just be able to express what is in the heart. Because so often when you do that, when you speak it out, you actually articulate what's going on down within, and it becomes more easy to deal with and cope and understand. The meditation for the day was John 21, where Jesus cooked the breakfast for the disciples on the beach. And I think two things came out of that. First of all, the disciples had no idea who it was who was on the shore cooking the fish and the bread. I don't know how Jesus did it. I'm assuming there was just a miracle of him being able to speak the dough into being that could just cook in the fire. Can you just imagine the smell of the fresh bread? And probably summoned the fish out of the water that he could cook for the disciples, who were struggling out on the sea, having not had success at night. It just goes to show, so often we're unaware, we are in our struggles, but Jesus is there with us and preparing his gifts for us. The thing is to be able to find the Lord in every situation. He will be invisible. We won't recognize immediately his presence. But Ignatius says, look for the Lord in all situations. That's the first one. And the second one was as he took Peter away to have the talk with him. And, you know, really the three, Peter or Simon, do you love me? The three times making up for the three denials that Simon had spoken when Jesus was being arrested. Jesus didn't come with condemnation. Simon, why did you do that? That so disappointed me. No, and it probably did. But that wasn't the point. The point was there was no condemnation. There was no recrimination. Jesus said absolutely nothing to make Simon feel guilty, but rather he just spoke the words of forgiveness and restoration, and more than that, hey, go feed my sheep. Despite our sinfulness, despite our even denials of the Lord at times in our lives, the Lord looks at us with that same love and calls us to walk with him and indeed to go before him to do the things to which he calls us. Isn't that a beautiful thought? I leave you to meditate with that, and tomorrow, into Santiago. God bless you.